So, Chris Huntingford, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. I saw you last at Dynamics Minds, I think.
Yes, running around doing all sorts of things, man. That was one of the craziest conferences, but yeah, it was good, man. Did you enjoy it?
My absolute favorite. Since I moved to Brazil, I've cut back significantly on events because it's just such a pain in the ass to travel.
Oh,
But that is one that I've continued since the first one, and partly because it's a good excuse to get me and my wife into Europe. And then stick a week on the beginning or the end of that and go do some other things. I have nothing left I need to see in the U.S.
yeah, you're
I
done.
have to go to
You're
the
US
U.S.
out.
twice a year for PAC. I have to go to U.S. and that's it. I'm not doing anything else in the U.S. It's just too much work.
Oh, it's a pain, man. Yeah, I know. I could never give up Dynamics Minds. I think it's one of the coolest conferences. It really is.
Yeah, they really did a good job, really, especially for a company that isn't a conference company. And they're an ISV.
Yeah, they are. They are.
I think that let them kind of approach it maybe with a fresh perspective because it definitely is a completely different sensation than any other conference.
I like the word you use there. It's a completely different sensation because that's what it is. It is a sensation. It's like it's a total experience. I know that you go to conferences and everyone sits in conference rooms and learns things, but that's not what this is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you do still learn things.
Yeah, you do. Oh, you learn loads. You're doing loads. It's the thing that wraps the learning that I like. It's the thing that because I go to loads of these, right? And I'm always interested in how people want to make it an experience for others to like network, get to know each other, do new things, and that's why I like all the new cities and things that we go to. But this is a whole other ballgame. Like they could host this in Slovenia for the next 20 years, and I would go because it's just so different.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you're sitting in a session room and somebody's going through some slides, that's the same at any conference. That part of the experience is identical everywhere. So really what makes them different is what happens outside of that. Yeah. And that's where they spend a lot of their time. So
I
where are
said
you at now? What are you doing now? Let's kind of catch
so. I'm
everybody
in.
up on your current status.
So I'm in the UK for now. Got lots of travel planned this year, so there's still loads more on the go, which is cool. So I'm in two roles. I'm still at ANS doing director of AI, whatever that means. And then I'm a partner at Cloud Lighthouse with obviously Mark and Andrew and everyone. And that is a very eye-opening role. And the reason it is because in the UK we do things local, and it's fine. Like it's cool, fine. But doing things with Cloud Lighthouse is very wide. So working with some of the organizations we work with, and they're very, very impactful organizations, like very impactful. I mean, like there's stuff that these people do that it's really around like tech for social impacts and that type of thing. And I love it. I absolutely love it. For me, it's been one of my favorite roles I've ever done. And I was saying to the team the other day, I'm like, I think I just had the best working week of my career.
Yeah, yeah.
I was in Rome with a bunch of orgs, and then we traveled to Geneva to do some stuff with some other orgs, and did a keynote there to around 40 C-suite folks. And dude, it was just cool because when you do that work, you're really helping humanity. And that's what I've always wanted to do. I wanted to be involved in stuff that impacts humanity, doesn't like solve the business process of a financial services company. I mean, it's important, but that's not shit that I want to do. Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
that's what I'm doing, man.
I've been following Cloud Lighthouse since they started, and an amazing company, an amazing concept. I think
Yeah,
they're also the Center for Trustworthy AI is another very interesting and timely. I don't know what you would call that, a subsidiary or offshoot or extension of Cloud Lighthouse, but very timely, very needed, very
yeah,
ironic in the name. I think that's a challenge that a lot of folks are having with Trustworthy and AI cobbled together. I'd love to be able to
yeah.
unpack that a little bit more and what your
Hell yeah.
thoughts are on how trustworthy is it getting. My opinion has always been I saw some statistics recently about like 40% of the AI projects will be shut down in the near future. Well, that doesn't surprise me at all because in talking to customers every day, they're talking about trying to apply AI to things that they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That's not going to be a good use case. So you can't blame the AI that you pointed it at the wrong thing and it failed. You have to point it at the right things. But I think when it's pointed at the right things, it's phenomenal. But when
Yep.
it's not, it's terrible. And
It's
I think
awful.
that's where people really need to understand those use cases. Maybe you can unpack your thoughts on.
Yeah, I'm pretty brutal about this because probably around 3 years ago, I reckon, maybe two and a half, actually no, it was when I was at Microsoft. So I was doing work with a partner on AI. And it was very basic stuff in AI builder. And I'm talking like 2018, around that era, right? And I was really interested because what this partner had done is they had said, we will use AI builder and Power Platform. Okay. This is insane. We will scan through documents and look for key phrases in these documents, and then we will classify these key phrases. They were looking at medical records and mental institution records. Then what they did is they said, cool, what we will do is we will then do some sort of aggregation, and we will be able to tell you if this person that enters this institution or prison is more likely to kill a prisoner than that person. And I'm like,
Oh,
why have I got a red flag?
yeah.
Like, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you why. It's like I call it the pink cupcake scenario. It's like, when you walk into a kitchen and there's a delicious pink cupcake on a table and you're like, dude, that looks amazing, but I probably shouldn't eat it. And you don't know why. You're just like, shit, it feels wrong. So that's how I felt. And responsible AI didn't exist in the common sense. It was called ethical AI, right? So we brought it to one of my friends, and he was like, no, dude, this is an actual thing. Like, you can't do this. It's called, you're not allowed to classify people with artificial intelligence in that way. Like, you're not allowed to, it's a minority report. Like, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do it. So obviously the program got shut down pretty quickly. It was more of a proof of concept that the partner had, and I thought it was really clever. But then that's when the bells started ringing. I'm like, actually, there's something here. Then when I went to Evernote Accenture, I didn't really get to do as much AI because I thought like it was more Power Platform focused. But in coming to ANS, I've done a lot of it, like a lot, dude. I've had to really pivot my career into like doing Power Platform dynamics and data into focusing on AI. But I've already had this thing that says we have to not turn walking sticks into weapons. Like as humanity, we're fucking terrible at this. All we
Yeah.
do is we turn walking sticks into weapons. So people create new shit and then we're like, let's make it bad. And I'm watching people do it
Hard
now, by the way.
wiring. Yeah, it's hard
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, so I've had a bee in my bonnet for a long time on this stuff. And then I said to Andrew and everyone, I'm like, no, dude, this is a big thing. And then I got to speak to some of the Microsoft folks. I learned what digital safety was. And then I ended up having a call with Mark, Andrew, and Anna probably around like 2 years ago. Two dates, actually. No, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. And I showed them something I'd learned. I'm like, this is important. It was basically the concepts of agents, but Agent Armageddon. So think about like the proliferation of bad data across a business through agents doing things automatically. And I'm like, this is an issue. I'm like, I drew it on a tiny, I sent them a document and I showed them these little pictures of these little red agents. And I'm like, this is bad. Like we have to do something. And Andrew, they were all in, right? And because they'd been interested in it as well. Like all of them had been really interested in it as well. So we started getting more and more stuck into AI and how it works and how trustworthy it is. And actually, I don't think AI is the problem. I think people are the problem. And as you said, I think that pointing, I'm going to use the AI in like the loosest terminology, pointing the AI at a terrible data or giving it the opportunity to do something wrong, it's going to because it doesn't know. It's like you're arming a tool with something that is incorrect, and you're going to be surprised when you get the wrong answers out of it or the wrong pieces of information. And it's fundamentally come down to the people building these models and creating them for others to use, and not just models, but tools, and the people making and using these tools. So there are three, I break it down into three layers. It's the vendor, the people making them, okay, which is like Microsoft or Salesforce or whoever, the deployer, the people taking them and putting them in, and then the user, the people using them. And those three parties have a shared responsibility to make sure that you can break it down into more layers than that, by the way.
Sure.
But those three parties, they have a responsibility to treat AI in an ethical fashion. And if they don't, one of them or more will be responsible for the outputs of those and what artificial intelligence does.
I think, there's, as we said earlier, pointing it at the wrong problem that it's not good at solving, but also pointing it at a problem for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
I think that's another aspect when you get into the trustworthy or the ethical side and everything else is what are you trying to accomplish, and is that a reasonable thing to accomplish? And obviously people are going to fall everywhere on the side of that. We launched a business that is heavily focused on replacing people. Which is obviously not a popular thing, but
No.
it is a real thing,
Yes.
and people will be doing that. And some could say, we're pointing it for the wrong reason, but I keep coming back to, it is certainly not our fault that an individual has not excelled to a point that they could not be replaced by a agent in 12 minutes. That's not the fault of the agent, the AI, or the provider. And companies are going to look for this. So it's not my responsibility. It's not companies' responsibility for the people that
No.
potentially are going to be replaced by AI, that they didn't make themselves less easily replaceable. So I'm
Yeah.
curious about your thoughts on that.
So let's put it this way. Technically, I don't agree. But I think it depends what you're doing. in the scenario. Okay, it's like there's something you do things very differently to other people. I'll tell you why. Like ethically, I don't agree with the concept, but I agree with what you're doing. Conceptually, if you're not taking responsibility for educating those around you, but you're replacing people, that is unethical. However, us on this podcast right now, on this call right now, you are taking responsibility for educating those around you. Therefore, you have the right to go and build tools like that. So the way that I see it is that, and I do these sessions, the one is defining the defaults of the next generation. It's like quite a hardcore keynote that I do that really it really busts home that point where we are responsible for those around us, including everyone in the room. Because whether, Steve, you exist or not, and by the way, I love you existing because you're one of my favorite humans, but whether you exist or not, someone's going to do this shit. And at least you are taking responsibility for telling everyone around you, hey man, we run this company, but actually in 12 months' time, you should be thinking about educating yourself and getting better at your career. Here's one of the podcasts I recently did. Start looking into it now. And
Yeah,
actually, to me, that's a model.
I've always felt that it is an individual's responsibility to make themselves valuable, to make themselves irreplaceable if possible. It is not the responsibility of the employer.
No,
The employer creates the opportunity, but it's really the individual who steps into that role. And, let's face it, there's a lot of lazy people on the planet. They just step into a role because they need to pay the rent. They're not motivated for the company, for work. They're there because they need to pay the rent. And unfortunately, they're going to be in that swath of people that, AI will fairly easily replace because
Yeah,
they didn't take responsibility for themselves.
they did not. AI is coming for the unmotivated, my friend.
Yes, exactly.
That is what I've said for many, many, many years, not in those words. But it's the same. This happened with machinery. This happened with cars. This happened with buildings. And machine automation was coming for the unmotivated. And it did. And unfortunately, some people lost jobs. And now, but my vibe is that because I too will be in a position where I'm helping create tools that will replace people's roles.
It's inevitable that any tool created with AI that can perform a task that was previously performed by a person, you can't just talk about how you've increased productivity, 200%, and leave out the part of the argument that as a result you did end up laying off, 30% of people. I mean, it's a fact of what's happening out there. Particularly, as you're talking to C-suite a lot. This is a primary motivation for them. It's a big motivation for a lot of the C-suite is, even if it's unspoken, is we need to create more revenue and lower our costs. And if AI can do that, this is a big reason a lot of them are even exploring it. They're not interested in, I'd love to be able to increase our current employees' output by 10%. Well, that's great if you've got demand for more services, and
Yes.
you can expand those people to cover more services, maybe without having to grow employment. But not every company is in that position. A lot of companies are pretty much static. They're operating along, and the only way they're really going to find to make money is to increase sales, which they may or may not have been able to do, or decrease cost. And both of those drop to the bottom line. Either one of those goes straight to the bottom line. So I think this is a motivation of a lot of the bigger companies that are looking at AI solutions is, I either want to increase revenue, but if I can't do that, I want to decrease cost.
Totally. So I'm going to tell you something that I think will happen. And I know Mark has likely said this to you as well, because Mark and I have had this chat. But the concept of like the way in which we charge people to do things is going to change because of AI. Things like time-based billing are like archaic in my brain. It's got to be like, the story about the boat that was stuck in the harbor, right? So for those of you that don't, I can't remember, this is a true story, I just cannot remember, and they've used it as a really strong anecdote, so there's probably like some version of this somewhere, but there was a boat stuck in a harbor, and they couldn't get it out, and it was because, like, I'm just going to use a random terminology, the flux capacitor wasn't working.
Right.
So what they did is they went out to market to try and get somebody who could fix a flux capacitor. And all these contractors came in and they said it'll take us 12 hours, 16 hours, 25 hours, and they charged them an hourly rate. And eventually they paid all these people and nothing happened, and the flux capacitor was still broken. And then this guy called Steve arrived, and he's like, hey man, Steve's done his career, done a really good job at learning. And he said, you know what? I'll charge you $100,000 to fix the flux capacitor. And they were like, you know what, man? Doesn't matter how long it takes you, just go and get the flux capacitor fixed. So off Steve goes with a screwdriver, walks into the boat, it goes click, 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 walks out, charges them $100,000. And they said, but dude, this is unfair. Like, how can you charge us $100,000 for 2 minutes of work? And we were like, dude, Steve was like, dude, you're not paying me for my 2 minutes. You're paying me for my 25 years of expertise that I know exactly where to knock that little screw in, right?
Yeah.
And what we're going to find in AI is that the people, it's the whole COBOL thing all over again. People who understand and have got industry experience will be so valuable that it doesn't matter how long it takes to do something, people are going to be paying it.
Yeah.
And what you will find is that the concept of time-based billing, like in the legal sector, time-based billing will change because I will not go to a lawyer who is going to not use AI. Same with financial services. My accountant, dude, he uses AI, so he can charge me a small minimum sum a month because he's like, dude, I just AI everything. Don't worry, it doesn't take me very long, but the quality is still the same. But he has to now go get more clients.
Yeah, it's
So
amazing the inertia that hourly based billing has and how difficult that is to break. We
so
broke
bad.
that on the services side. Well, we're going on like 3 years now of
Yeah,
having pivoted over to a subscription model for services, flat monthly cost. There's no clock. And part of the reason we did that was, frankly, I was tired of arguing with customers over invoices because when you're on an hourly model, they're all going to argue about how much time anything took. So you had to get rid of the clock for that reason. The other reason that I really was bothered by was they were never going to get the most out of the tools, technology, if they kept staring at clock. Never going to happen. So you had to somehow take that clock out of the picture. And we did that. And the customers, the happiest I've ever had customers in my life, getting away from hourly. We're happier. We make more money. The customer's getting more stuff. I mean, I can't fault the model anywhere. I can't find fault with it. And I've been out there preaching it for a while now to other partners. We wrote white papers to other partners because, the more people that do it, the more acceptable it is, because we still run into customers all the time. Well, I need to know how many hours, I mean, it's hardwired, the whole industry, though, everybody on both sides is hardwired to think in hours.
bad. It's
But it's
really
just
bad,
a
John.
horrible model. But I agree with you. AI is going to blow it out of the water
It
because
is.
we're all learning. I wouldn't say anybody is far enough down the path to be able to raise the flag, say,
No
I'm an
way.
AI expert.
No way. I agree. I think all the partners toting this are speaking crap. I'm like, do you know what I ask people to do? Okay. So my stress test for any AI partner, there are some good ones out there. Is I'm like, number one, explain to me your AI resource profile. So tell me what you're doing with your people. Explain to me who is an AI engineer, because the role doesn't exist. Just by the way, it's a red herring. And I had a call with a partner the other day. So this was the guy phoned me up. He's like, Chris, I need to find AI engineers. So I'm like, why? What are you going to do with an AI engineer? He's like, I'm going to make the AI. I'm like, homie, find some devs and train them in AI. Forget AI engineers. Find some devs who are really good at writing Python, who understand, like, I don't know, areas of Foundry, but just find some devs and get them into AI. Don't do it the other way around, because no one is an AI expert.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am the director of AI and I'm learning AI, Steve. I'm going through this process of going, holy shit, I understand ethically how it works, but there's so many technical things I don't get.
You can't be an expert on something that is still moving, on a technology that is fairly static, that is incrementally moving. Sure, you probably could become an expert and keep up, but in a technology that is still evolving into whatever it will be,
Yeah, we don't know.
we don't know. So you can't hang the hat out there. It's funny. I was talking to a customer yesterday who was complaining about he's all in on AI. He has no idea how to apply it or where to apply it, but he just wants it bad. And he spends half the call talking about how he was trying this tool and that tool and all these different
Yeah.
tools and how amazing they are. And I said, you know what? You need to stop. You're going to end up with an AI knowledge that is extremely wide, but not deep enough to accomplish anything. Pick one. Pick something. I don't care if it's Google, Microsoft. I don't care what you pick, but pick a path and go deep, because that's the only way you're going to ever generate any value for the business. And then, of course, he proceeds to start talking about some more AI product that he was looking at or hoping, or heard about this rumor about this. So he's one of those shiny object guys who will never.
I know
But he
that.
was
I know
telling me
the type.
about his marketing. They have a marketing consultant who's a very good marketing consultant, but she doesn't believe in AI, isn't comfortable with it, has no plans to do anything with AI. So he's like, I need to go find an AI marketing consultant. And he said, I've talked to a lot of guys that have started in AI that are doing marketing. I said, I think that's the wrong guy. The guy who learned AI and then decided I'm going to apply it to marketing isn't the one. You want the person who understands marketing.
Yes, and that can, yeah.
To learn AI. They're the ones that
Yes,
know how to apply it. So
I like that. I like
Curious
that.
about your thoughts on how people are, just like in a lot of things, there's no certification that you're an AI expert. Anybody can hang up a shingle. Anybody can add AI expert to their LinkedIn title. It
That
doesn't.
doesn't mean shit. Yeah, but I'm like evidence, man. So what I've done, just while we're talking, you give me the best idea. So I've just changed my LinkedIn job title to Director of the Evolution of AI.
There you go.
It's it's just super funny. So I will tell you, like, I do love. Okay, I'm going to tell you about a job spec I saw recently. There was a job spec that came out, and it said 3 month contract for graphic designer, but needs to be using Midjourney.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay. So what you've done is you've just literally eliminated half the job market, which is good. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Because now what's going to happen is that all these people that are GDs that are like, we will never get out of Photoshop, they're going to see that job spec and be like, wow, that job spec is paying more than we would normally get paid for a regular design job, but it's using Midjourney and it's like against the rules. You know, we're purists. We have to have layers and thing. And some guy that's like, dude, I'm really good at prompting in Midjourney. I know how to do graphic design. I know what to look for. I know what good looks for. Let's do that. But the point is that that person understands graphic design. So if I ask that person for a logo for my other company called Yelling Pineapple, and I make a logo, my logo is not that good. Okay. Whereas the graphic designer's logo, even though done in Midjourney, looks really good.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
It's the same with marketing. So I believe that you have to have the base skill that you supercharge with AI, but you have to need to learn to use the tools. Like the example I will give you right now is I did a peer review on a implementation of Dynamics recently. Okay. And it was an audit, and I needed to go in, and I didn't have time to talk to all of the people in the company. So what did I do? Dude, I grabbed their entire DevOps. Okay. I whacked it into a spreadsheet, whacked the spreadsheet into an LLM, obviously with their permission, and I started querying the spreadsheet. So when
Hmm.
I got into the calls, I didn't have to learn. I was like, hey, this is what I figured out. Is this correct? And they were like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So what I've done is I've augmented my job rather than, and to be happy, I would replace any audit any day of the week. I hate them, but I've augmented my job with the tool. But I still understand what a CRM system is. I still understand what a data table is. So I got the base knowledge. Okay. So I always say, like, as a person in a role, whether you are a person doing non-technical work, if you're a teacher, it is your responsibility and the people around you, hopefully, to learn how to use these tools.
Ted, that applies to the people that are in our industry as well.
Yeah.
And an awful lot of the development community in our industry, I guess calling them AI deniers,
Fine.
they are the ones that would be the most valuable if they added AI skills. Because what will happen is, they're at risk of being displaced by people that didn't come from a development background, but learned how to use AI tools, vibe coding, whatever. And they're at risk from coming up, and they sit there with their arms crossed, like, "How dare you think you can do this?" But they're out
But
there
we
doing
can.
it. Yeah, they're out there doing it. So it's frustrating to me that the community, all the communities, whether it's marketing consultants or developers, that could be the best versions if they incorporate AI because of their past knowledge, by and large, are the ones that are fighting it the most. So
They can do
this
that as
guy,
much as
this
they
guy I
want.
was talking to yesterday, he's got a whole bunch of AI kids who've learned AI really well, now trying to apply it to marketing, something they don't know very well. We're going to see the same thing in the development community. It should be completely the other way around.
Dude, this is why I'm gonna. Can I screen share and draw you my a drawing that's gotten me into a lot of trouble a lot of times?
Sure, I love
Okay.
those.
Yeah, this was this actually I was in real big shit for this. And do you remember when? So you should be able to see the world's most powerful design tool.
Yes, I do.
Yep. So do you remember when Power Plat came out? And everyone was like, "Oh, Power Platform, blah blah blah. You will never learn this nonsense." And all the Dynamics people were purists.
All toys.
Now we got a problem. So this is AI. I'm gonna explain the AI market to you with the world's worst drawing. So this is the AI market, and this is a newbie, and this is an AI purist. Sorry, a non-AI purist. So what's happened now is that this person has started here, and they've gotten all of this knowledge, and they're kind of living in this realm of like, hey, this is how we do things. This is the way we do things. And somebody new to the market is like, hey, they learn a little bit of knowledge, and then like, holy shit, look at that, we're right over there. And they have now gotten a ton of knowledge, and they're like, yay, we're awesome. And we're making big, shiny bucket loads of money.
Yeah.
And this person is making a not so big shiny bucket load of money because they won't move. And they're pissed because that person got there quicker and they've been in this rut for 25 years. And I'm like, all right, dude, let me help you out here. Okay. This is your fault for not getting educated and going there. This is on you. It's like the Taylor Swift song. It's you that's the problem, right? Like, that's the person. And unfortunately, there's so many of them living in this trough of disillusionments, not willing to climb out and just get a little bit more educated. And all these young bucks are like, yes, this is great. Like my friend Lewis, he's a 21-year-old graduate that's just finished his degree at the University of Birkbeck. So he started when he was 17. Absolute genius. Bro, the guy was writing Python scripts when he was like 18 and he spoke in the EU at 16. So he's a genius. But for him to get here, the guy was building Power BI reports for me and building me custom connectors in the Power Platform, doing a better job of many Dynamics people living in that gap there.
Yeah.
Why did I hire him and not them? Dude, they just didn't have the capacity to learn, and they didn't want to. They were just like so fixated on doing things their way.
And the irony is the guy in the red circle with the 25 years of experience, if he had embraced the tool, because, he had the same opportunity to embrace the tool as the kid did.
Yes.
But he would have embraced it with 25 years of
he would have been supercharged.
He would have been so far ahead. Instead, he's sitting down there with his arms crossed as the kids are just flying across over the top of them. And, you can sit down there and take pot shots at the code and all. It doesn't matter. You're still down there until you get out of there. And to be fair, that's not everybody, right?
It's not everyone. We're not being mean.
Blanket over every developer out there in the community, because I know there's a lot of them that have definitely embraced it and have seen it. But there's still on LinkedIn, see too many people looking for a reason to take a shot, looking for a reason, whatever it is. So let me ask you about a couple of other things.
Yeah.
One of the things that I found interesting in Microsoft's, what do they call it? The state of the business report 2020. Something they recently had launched that Jared Spataro had put together. And in it, of course, it's talking about the age of AI and all this wonderful stuff. And the first case study that they talked about was Wells Fargo, which, we've all read about Wells Fargo. They deployed AI and eliminated 250,000 interactions without a human in the loop, just massive success story, this, that, and the other. But Microsoft didn't have anything to do with that particular case.
Yeah.
A little bit of Azure at the back end, but that was done internally, cobbled together a lot of different AI tools out there. And it got me thinking, why isn't Microsoft showcasing more of the success stories that we know there are out there? Or are there enough out there? What are you seeing from your vantage point? We're seeing success. I wouldn't say I've seen anything that I would say is earth-shaking yet.
No.
So clearly, something like the Wells Fargo, if it's true, that's a pretty mind-blowing example of AI success, but it wasn't particularly Microsoft's.
Realistically, I don't think that there are these genius AI stories out there. I work with customers now who are doing some pretty cool POCs, and I've got some pretty good stuff in production. But realistically, man, I like to think I've got a relatively good view of what's going on in the industry, and I'm not seeing anyone going, hey, this has been amazing because of X. There are some thinly slivered user stories, I think. One of them's a pothole recognition one that I know of. One of them built a very conceptual multi-agent report. There's joiners, movers, leavers type thing. But I think we're in the early days of Power Platform with AI being released. You know what it is, Steve? I'll tell you what it is. We're in what we call the solitaire phase of AI. Okay. And do you know why Microsoft put solitaire in Windows? It was to teach us how to use a mouse. Whoops.
Yeah,
so the goal was, this is how you use a mouse. So that's where we are with Copilot. We're in the position where within the embedded AI phase, where Microsoft have been like, cool, you've got your differential AI components within Foundry, you've got some really good tools, but we as people still don't really understand how to actually start. We don't understand how to talk to AI.
Yeah.
And I think it's very conceptual. And I'll tell you how I'm going to evidence this. So I actually put a post out twice on LinkedIn. And I said to everyone, all right, all of you are talking about agents. Show me a live one. Show me a live agent passing off to another agent. Show me a productionized one. I would love to see it because I'm extremely interested in how you did it. Okay. And there was not a soul that came back to me. The post got a lot of views and it got a lot of likes and comments. Not a single person in the entirety of that community was able to come back to me and say, here is a live thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about a Copilot Studio agent because I can stick that together in my sleep. I'm talking about an actual live agentic AI program.
Yeah.
No one could do it, dude.
It doesn't exist yet, or it hasn't reached a production state yet, or
I don't think agentic AI exists yet. I
yeah,
think that we're still talking about sparkling automation at its very best. I think that we don't understand the concept of orchestration. I don't think we understand planning and memory. I think that we say we do, but dude, like think about it like this. If you and I were standing next to each other and I'm like, hey, Steve, would you hold this beer? And you're like, yeah, cool. And then I'll be like, Steve, and I hypnotize you. I'm like, Steve, you have no arms. Cool. Hey, Steve, hold this beer. And you wouldn't be able to. Okay. What we're doing right now is we're giving agents very basic descriptions and instructions on what they can and can't do, but it's not true orchestration. It's not like a conversation that people have, because that is orchestration. It plans by its own self. It works organically. At best, we're doing a thing called group chat, which is available in semantic kernel, which just looks at what each agent does and then passes the ball to the right one. That is not orchestration, right? And same with MCP server. Like, it's not
you think
true orchestration.
you think it doesn't exist yet, or it just hasn't been applied yet?
I think it's both. I think it exists in very many pieces in several places. I don't think it's been applied yet. I would love to. I've seen it applied in one company, and it wasn't with a Microsoft tool, but it's very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want to see it, dude. I want to see true agentic AI, and I'm putting it out there. Like, if anyone's done it, show us, because we want to learn.
You know, with our AI efforts, we've decided to focus around what Microsoft has, Microsoft's availabilities, which I've always felt like Microsoft has never had the best of anything,
Yeah.
but they had everything.
Yes.
So, you know, as a business in particular, you know, you can cobble together a platform for your business from multiple parts, and that has lots of challenges. Or you can go to Microsoft and get good enough, but covers all the bases. That's always
Yeah, yeah.
been the,
It's the voxel. It's the voxel of providers. Like, it's
yeah,
it's the best at being excessively average.
yeah. It's good enough, but it's very broad, and no one else is as broad as Microsoft. But the other argument that I would make to customers when we're talking about that, because, you know, they're always bringing up, well, what about this, or what about that, or I saw this new cool tool, and I'm like, I think that we're going to see a massive consolidation. I mean, you know, in the AI space, because right now too much money is been thrown at too many startups that are all doing variations of the same thing. They're not all going to survive. Well, who is going to survive? Well, I think Google's going to survive.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Microsoft is clear. Whatever's on the other side of where we're going, because I still think we're looking at a wall of fog. Whatever's on the other side of that, I feel pretty comfortable. There aren't going to be that many people standing, but I'm pretty confident Microsoft will end up being one of them. Just
Dude, for sure.
Sheer size. If you're going to bet your business on a stack from AI standpoint, that you won't have to potentially rebuild down the road. And I think you make a pretty good case for Microsoft there. What are your thoughts?
So I'm a huge fan of Microsoft in this scenario. Let me tell you why. Would you prefer, okay, we've got two options here. Would you prefer that Microsoft didn't like go totally bleeding edge and like push the agentic boundaries and actually push the use cases and push all this crazy shit that they're doing now? And they were like, you know what? This is exactly where we are, and we'll only innovate when we need to. Would you prefer, which one of those would you prefer? Would you prefer them to really go hardcore, really, like, yes, there's a little bit of glitter on what they say, but, or would you prefer we'll only innovate where we need to? Because there are AI companies that are going, we will only innovate when we need to, and they're dropping off the radar like this. Whereas all the other ones, like Google and Meta, are like, you know what, we're doing this amazing shit. Look at this. Here's this use case. And everyone's like, yeah, dude, okay, cool, we get it. But at least you're thinking in the right place. And when I had this discussion with person X, I was like, you know what? Because I have had this agent rant a lot of times. And she was like, you know what, which would you prefer? And I said, you know what, I actually prefer what you guys are doing, because it makes sense that you're at least thinking in the future, but you have a lot of catching up to do with marketing, right? Whereas other companies don't. Yeah, that's where I'm at on that one. I actually like what they're doing. I like the fact that they've got some excessively clever people behind the wheel on this stuff. They, I feel, are inhibited by sometimes process a little bit, because I think this is the NASA story where they're kind of like 10 years ahead of everyone, but it's a drip release. You can't just give everyone everything all the time. Dude, if we turned on agentic AI right now for all of the Microsoft partners in the community, it would be a shit show because there's no governance.
Yeah.
So I believe that in theory, like, the technology exists, they've got it there, it's coupled out in different places, but I think that they're drip feeding it on purpose. That's what I think.
Could be. You know, I think Microsoft historically has played from behind.
Yeah, they have.
You know, they let a technology, you know, pop up out there in the world. They watch it for a while. If it looks like it's got legs, then they just go replicate it and throw more money at it and make a better version of something
Yeah.
somebody else did. And that's been their history.
Well, they don't make new things very well. They just reuse things very well.
They've had some new ideas, over the years, but we're never able to get them to success until somebody else took that idea, made it successful, and then they come back to that idea. But this deal they made with OpenAI put them in kind of a unique spot. Suddenly they found themselves in the lead and by quite a margin.
Yes.
I feel like they blew the lead.
Do you think so?
But I think that's actually the best thing that could happen. Because
I don't think it's a bad thing, yeah.
it dropped them back into their power position where they've always played from. But they were out there in a space where they were not familiar with how to play. They're not used to looking over their shoulder. They're used to being looked at over other people's shoulders. And it's a whole different spot on the field for them to play from. But now I really feel like they're in their wheelhouse. And just like everything else they do.
That's a good point.
They're competing with so many, right? I mean,
so many.
They're competing with almost every technology they've got a finger in, and they're competing with different people here, different people there, different.
Oh yeah.
Most companies kind of pick a lane and try and get really good at that lane, and they're competing with a few other companies doing the same thing. Microsoft's competing with just about everybody in technology at some level.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's
cool.
That's a hard spot to be, but that also means it's very difficult to be the best at any of those, but you follow the ones that are leading in those spaces. Yeah. Then you just adopt what they're doing, bring it in house, throw the money at it, make a better version. And
they're very good at that. They're very good at flinging the money at it. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, think about what have they ever been the first at? They had this lead in AI, but prior to that, they weren't the first low code platform out there. They weren't the first. They weren't the first word processor. They weren't the first spreadsheet. They weren't the first server. They weren't the first anything. They've never been the first anything until this recent chance. So I actually feel better about the fact that they're no longer necessarily first. Yeah, with their head out in front of the crowd, because that's not a place they're strong playing from.
No, I'd agree with you on that. I don't think that they're very good at being first. It's like,
and that's not to diminish any of the people.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You got a lot of very smart people. They're just not familiar with playing for that position. No?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like I've listened to some of the stories that some of these folks have told me, like on what it is they do internally and what they're building. And man, like they have some of the biggest brains in the world in that company. Like honestly, some of the biggest brains. It's really amazing. Like when you meet some of these people, it just blows my mind. So I don't think it's that. I think you're right. I think it's process, market position. It's stuff that they're just going to have to get used to. And yeah. I really like it. But hey, man, I think that looking at them, the reason I haven't gone anywhere else, like I'm learning about other tools, but the reason I haven't gone anywhere else is because I actually really like the company and I really like what it is they do with the tech. Plus, the one thing that I think they've done really right is they've stuck to their guns on responsible AI.
Yeah.
There have been lots of other companies that haven't. There's been lots of other bullshit out there, and Microsoft have been like, no, we're going to do this properly.
Yeah, I've talked to people that have said, I tried Copilot, but it's not as good as just ChatGPT. Well, first of all, they're both potentially using the same engine underneath. So what do you think the difference is? That one is basically unwrapped.
Yes.
Microsoft has taken the same thing that ChatGPT is doing, but they've wrapped it inside of Azure AD, security, all these sorts of things. Yeah, it's going to feel sometimes like it's not as good because it's not as free, but that's by design. There's a reason for that.
Dude,
There's
absolutely.
A reason why you should prefer that in your business. You want the most unusual recipe for brownies, go to Copilot for that. Go chat, let it go search the world and come up with something. But inside your organization, you don't want the Wild West.
No, you do not want the Wild West. I have had this debate with many people before, and I'm like, if you know how to prompt and you truly understand how to prompt and you are still unhappy with the outputs of Copilot, guess what? You're not prompting right.
Yeah, sure.
Because, dude, I can get like for like out of both tools, right? Yeah. And actually out of Copilot, I get better responses because it's grounded in my work data. So the stuff that I get, man, it's insane. Like that thing I told you about Azure DevOps. It was amazing. That was Copilot. The outputs that I got from that were truly transformational.
Yeah. I was on the phone with a new customer about a week ago who was all in on AI. Says, finally, we've got whole bunch of challenges in our organization. I'm finally comfortable that AI can solve all these challenges. And he starts describing all these challenges he has. And I'm thinking, you haven't described a single thing that couldn't be done with Power Automate.
Power Automate, yeah. Because AI is, it's somebody, Jason Earnshaw, one of the guys said to me earlier, he's like, the difference is AI and IA, right? AI is artificial intelligence. IA is AI infused automation. I'm getting, my dyslexia is playing up, but you get what I mean.
Yeah. But I
Yeah,
think that's another phenomena we're seeing is AI is actually bringing up the automation conversation to
yeah,
customers. But very often AI isn't the solution to what they're trying to solve, and we can use deterministic, existing tools to do
yeah.
that. You just never even thought about it until the AI conversation popped it up. So that's an interesting.
Yeah, now everyone's on the AI automation bandwagon. It's very funny. I do think it's cool, but at the same time, man, there are going to be problems that people are trying to solve with these tools that just are not AI problems to solve. It's not for AI to solve at
There's
all.
other existing tools that are better at that particular requirement. I mean, why would you introduce non-deterministic if it's not needed? It's not serving any purpose. Why are you doing that? Just use standard automation. I know you talk to a lot of the C-suite folks out there, and let's say you've got a CEO of a decent sized company who's coming in. I really want to lean in on AI. I think that's the future. I believe in it. I really want to lean in on it. Where are you suggesting they start? What do you
So,
tell them?
I,
How do you get
I,
from there to, because
yeah,
they're coming in as dreamers. They don't have any idea what it is.
no.
They want it. They don't know what it is.
So I have this one slide that I use, and I use it a lot. And basically, when I talk to organizations, it is generative AI focused, right? Like I think that's the best way. I'm like, okay, guys. So here's the thing. Like, first of all, this is not going to go away. So that's the first discussion I have with them. I'm like, it's not going to go away. This is not something you can put your head in the sand for. Just attack it now and just get it done, right? Like, just do the thing. I tell them to start with what I call embedded AI. And the example I always give people is I'm like, when you used Microsoft Word, and then all of a sudden one day, all the things you were spelling awfully were highlighted in red, and it said spell check, and you would do your spell check. Oh, sorry, you would write your Word document, you would manually do your spell check, and then you would have your things fixed. And then what would happen is later on, spell check would happen to you, so you would see all your horrible words highlighted in red, and you would go back and fix those. Okay, and now some of it gets fixed automatically, and I'm like, embedded AI is in product artificial intelligence that you just use. Okay, and I'm like, that part of your AI strategy should be, hey, embedded AI is where we're going to begin. So things like Copilot chat. You're learning to use artificial intelligence tools that are in products. And I say start there, but make a strategy, make a program of work and say, we will start with embedded AI for like a year and then make sure people are skilled up and they learn what it is. And then you move out into what I call extensible AI. And extensible AI is using tools like Fabric and Power Platform. It's building with the bricks that already exist. Okay. And that is a good way because you're not screwing with the AI verse. You're using bricks that already exist. You're creating solutions, but they're a bit more tailored to your business. Right. And then finally, differential AI. And that's where things get a little bit more complicated, which is building like large language models, doing custom model training. And that's really where you're going to take the things that you've built and move out into a more kind of progressive, more wide ecosystem. But I'm like, don't do that now because everyone is toting, let's make an LLM. I'm like, no, just use the tools in product already. You don't need to make an LLM. And that's what I told them. I'm like, you don't need to go full hog on like hiring 70 devs and building LLMs. No one should be doing that.
Yeah, I agree with that approach. I think a lot of the folks I'm talking to are wanting to go big. They feel like they have a little FOMO. They feel like their competition is moving big. I'm thinking, your competition over there is probably doing the same thing you are. He probably thinks you're moving big. So everybody's there's a fear factor driving them to want to do big things, to make big accomplishments, because if they don't, somebody else will. And I think that's a challenging one to try and get them to calm down a little bit from, because
Yeah.
there will always be somebody out there that will say, "Oh yeah, let's do it, let's go big." I mean, but
Everyone wants to go big, man. But I'll tell you what, if the concept of being first, being fast, and being correct is absolutely really relevant right now. And I think that what happens is when people go too fast, they're not correct. Like an airline, I won't mention their name, who stuck a public-facing chatbot on their website because they wanted to be the best, and the bot was lying to people and selling them flights for £1. And it gets more serious than that, dude. Like, that's a very light-hearted example. I won't go into the brutal ones. But, like, that is examples of people not doing this stuff properly. And unfortunately, the consequences of not doing this properly are dire.
A lot of the AI naysayers will point at examples, but there's not enough information in the failed example to know, okay, who did it? what tools did they use to try and do it? There's a lot of variables, more so than even in Power Platform. There's always been that case, right?
Yeah.
You walk into a rescue of a Dynamics deployment or something, and who did it? Why did they do it this way? You just realize that, okay, they used the wrong tool and they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
So you can't blame Dynamics, for somebody who didn't know what they were doing. And I think a lot of the things that obviously the scenario you talk about with the airline, we don't have all the details. We don't know the level of skill of the person who did it. We don't know what tooling was used, how they put it together, but we know that's not a common problem. That was a unique problem, which tells me that somewhere in the chain of them solving that problem, they had a weak link.
They did. They did.
And it's very easy just to blame the AI, blame AI, but you had a weak link in the chain. I don't know if you used the wrong solution, if you had an idiot doing it. We don't know, but if it was, every airline's chat would be doing the same thing if it was AI. So clearly something was wrong with the approach that you took.
They made a mistake. And the interesting part is the pattern that I've seen is that there are many of these public-facing bots taken off websites now because people know how to red team them. People know how to talk to them. I do. I go bot hunting every now and then, and I'll go and find a website, start talking to the bot, and then I'm like, cool, I can bypass this LLM using X. And then I'll leave a report to them. I send them a mail saying, you all need to do X, right? But it's just interesting that, you're right, there is a weak link in the chain, and typically people don't understand where it is because it is non-deterministic.
Was talking to a product manager at Microsoft. I actually did a pod with him recently, Jackson Abrams, who is responsible for Copilot in M5.
Yeah.
Technical guy. And I asked him what the challenges that they're still dealing with. And he says, well, we're still dealing to a degree with hallucinations, and we're still dealing to a degree with prompt injection.
Yes, of course.
So these are legitimate things out there. There are things that by now we probably all assume would have been solved that aren't solved yet. Makes some people assume they'll never be solved just because of the nature of things. So how do you handle folks bringing up those kind of concerns? Because it's not that they're illegitimate concerns. How do you get them comfortable enough to think about, okay, well, let's move forward?
Yeah, I just tell them, well, antivirus has the same problem.
Sure.
There are going to be people doing bad shit every day, man. Like Microsoft's biggest focus, one of their biggest focus is security, right? But there's going to be somebody in the middle of, I don't know, Uzbekistan that invents the Fleeble gloop that then hacks the flux capacitor. There are 8 billion people in the world, man. You can't cater for every single one, but what you can do is you can put up your defenses as much as possible. One of my friends, Sarah, she's I call her Security Sarah. She calls it the Swiss cheese model. And think of it as like 10 slices of Swiss cheese, all sitting across from one another like this. And Swiss cheese has holes. Mm-hmm. And it's very unlikely in 10 slices you're going to find a way to pass a pencil through all of them.
Right.
But every now and then, there is a way to do it. And it's by somebody who is very, very thinking out the box, not thinking of the regular models. But then guess what? Microsoft figure it out and they mitigate. Like a prompt injection I do against Copilot now. And by the way, just to let everyone know, I do red team. I do it under my own responsibility. It is me who's doing it. So I take absolute responsibility for any red teaming I do. It's not the AI, it's me, right? Every time I do it, I know that Microsoft will have that blocked in like a week.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
But it's non-deterministic. So you can have 8 billion versions of this. So all that happens is Microsoft just keep on hammering the tools with updates and updates and updates. And it's the same as antivirus.
I think it's a good point. When you think about DDoS attacks, antivirus, we've lived in that world already forever.
Yeah.
I will say that I've been in the technology business a very long time, probably 35 years by now.
That's wild.
And so I've seen a lot of things moving, but I haven't seen the excitement for anything at this level. We're doing the Copilot in a day workshops for Microsoft. We do it once a month. It's enough. A handful of partners that are doing them. Every day there are multiple opportunities to sign up for Copilot in a day, soon to be renamed Agent in a day, by the way.
Of course, yeah.
These things are happening around the world every day, and every one of them sells out. 150 people signing up. Maxed every single one of them. We had 150 people signed up 6 weeks in advance.
Wow, that's
the
wild.
demand The demand is like nothing I have never seen for people wanting to learn. Copilot's a good way for, I think one of the challenges for a lot of companies, particularly with leadership, is they want AI for FOMO, they want AI for competition, but they don't have any idea what it actually is. This is a challenge we had even with machine learning when we talked about applying AI. They're like, oh yeah, I want me some of that, but they have no idea what you're really talking about. They want it, but they don't know what it is. So Studio in a Day, I think, is a pretty good way that Microsoft is, okay, let's get some people in, hopefully some people in these positions, walk them through some labs to build a basic agent, because in the process of doing it, they'll get a little grounding and, to use an AI term, and what the hell this stuff is. So now the next conversations they're much more, have a much better understanding of what's possible. Granted, Copilot Studio is pretty entry level. I mean, I kind of consider it like the Canvas apps of AI.
I like that. It is.
There's a whole nother level of tools that are mostly code first that Microsoft has for doing much more powerful AI. And I think once again, they're leaning so heavily on Copilot Studio today, just like with Power Apps. They over-indexed on anybody could build it, and we had a mountain of shitty little apps. We're going to have a mountain of shitty little agents out there. Same result.
Totally will, man.
And not playing this to their real strength, which is the whole Azure AI Studio and everything that's within there.
That is where the power is. Let me tell you, Steve. Like I've pivoted into Foundry.
Yep.
And damn, it is excessively strong. It is excessive.
You can see why they don't point it at citizens.
But you need to understand high code. Like, I mean, it's forcing me back out into the code world. Like, I mean, it's been a long time, man, but let me tell you, it's just so interesting. Like, let me give you an example. Copilot Studio has 2 models you can select from. Foundry has 11,000 models you can select from.
Right.
I mean, it's just, I get into model Armageddon and I'm like, I actually don't know what to choose. Then things like evaluations, temperature control, the content management, the governance on it. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
There's a tool in there that will tell you which of those 11,000 is.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, you're asking the question. Yeah, it's very cool. I'm a big Foundry fan. So I say to people all the time now, I'm like, if I was you and I would have picked tools to learn, if you're a Power Plat person, you need to move down one layer in the stack. So you should be looking at Foundry. You should be looking at Fabric and OneLake. And if you're at that level, you should be going even further down into the code and stuff. But for me, coming from Power Plat, I focus on OneLake/Fabric. Okay, Foundry, 100%, and then moving out also into Purview. Those are the 3 things.
Yeah.
Because I know, dude, when it becomes even bigger, I'm like, Power Platform is going to be useful, and it's an extensibility tool, but actually the real rock stars of the show are going to be those.
Well, we're gonna have to get over the same challenge we did with Canvas apps, where people were like, I tried it and it couldn't do anything. Is that all it is? And not realizing, wait a minute, that was the front door. There's a long hallway, but on that hallway, there's all kinds of power. Don't dismiss it because of the front door.
Yes.
And I'm afraid we'll see that with Copilot Studio is the same thing. I built an agent. It wasn't that powerful. It didn't revolutionize. Well, because you're at the front door. You went through. You didn't go down the hall yet.
Yeah, you haven't even experienced it. So yeah, man, I'm totally with you on that. I think that we're going to have to find ways to help people understand more about how this works.
Got any closing thoughts? We talked for long enough, I think.
So I think it's more, if you are not doing anything in AI and you're not doing anything to advance your career, you should be. And like, I don't care if you're a school teacher, a technical person, if you're a bus driver, it doesn't matter. You need to start learning these tools because they are not going away. And back in the day, do you remember how we used to interview people and say, hey, do you know how to use Word and Excel? And now we don't even do that. We just assume that they know that. In a couple of years' time, it will be assumed that you know how to use these tools.
This has always been a challenge, but I think it is magnified now. I think AI is magnifying this. There's always been a spot for the unmotivated, but those spots have been getting slowly smaller, but I think AI is going to accelerate that to no spots for the unmotivated.
Totally. I think the unmotivated are going to be, sadly, not even available on the bench any longer.
So give me one trick question I can ask Andrew Welch when I talk to him next week.
Do you want a tech question, or do you want to, I don't know, let me think of something interesting.
Yeah, something embarrassing maybe.
Something embarrassing. Ask Andrew about the largest ever Dynamics implementation he did. and ask him if he thinks it was best practice or not.
Okay, I will do that. I will do that, my friend. Chris, great chatting
Steve,
with
thank you for,
you. I look
thank you for
forward to
having me,
seeing
man.
you at the next event that we're at together.
Yes, we'll go and find drinks and be pains and bother everyone.
I'm going to continue to follow the exploits of Cloud Lighthouse and the Center for Trustworthy AI, both
Thank you, sir.
things everybody should be paying attention to.
Yes, I agree. And thank you for having me, man. It's always good to chat to you. I love chatting to you.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Peace, brother.